I say I'm 68. Do you know this job can be a bit tough because it's hot? I say I'm senior now, but I'm not weak, you know.
I want only admin job, but that job has to be one stop away from my home. It should provide X number of salaries, no shift, only this time to this time. In their mind, they have a perfect job. That doesn't really exist.
新加坡的法定退休年龄是64岁，但根据2025年劳动力调查报告，65到69岁的新加坡人当中，有超过一半都还在工作，或者在积极的寻找工作。
因为只要不是 full time， 应该没有问题的。It doesn't away from the society。
我没有退休，以前我是做管工的，后来就换成年龄到了就换成普通员工，后来就做part time咯。
A little money helps. If you don't have $50 per day spending, you can't survive here.
2023年住户开支调查显示，一位不上班的退休人士平均每月消费约1384元。对于今年68岁和太太一起生活的郭福成来说，这些钱远远不够。
每个月开销，手机啦、broadband 啦，就算我用最低的能加上生活费、水电费啦，还有最重要是买保险，我也不可能每天吃面包。加上我姐姐87岁了，她是带大我的，所以她也因为现在的状况不好了，又失智症了，行走不方便了，所以有多少也帮补一下子。其实真的坦白讲，以现在的生活费要2000多、2500，你才觉得会比较松一点点，也不要想到说要出国去哪里旅行之类的。
3年前，他曾经是一位机场安检人员，却不小心在赶往登机口的途中扭伤脚。这次受伤对他的工作影响不小。合约结束后，他再也没有找到合心意的全职工作，只能断断续续打零工，勉强维持生计。
目前大概也拿到1000块左右，不超过1500吧。一个礼拜可能4、5天哦。有些公司才给11块钱，像 Club Marshall 他们讲就15块钱。其实我感觉新加坡这个 wage 是真的太低了，15块我觉得已经是刚刚好。比如说你在机场工作我们在外面吃的那些餐厅一餐都整12块钱左右，只是你这是1个小时的那个费用了。
这些零工缺乏保障，一份工作经常有上百人竞争，什么时候有工作，一个月能赚多少，全靠运气。
因为 flexi job 就是在等候了，但是有时候太多人申请，所以有时候我们也不会拿到每一天你要的，所以可能1个礼拜2天、3天这样子。他一个 check 人有900多个人
一个 job 这样，他们来问了之后，大概多久就会没有了？
很快的，有时候 within 2-3天就没有了。刚才有一个收到是 job reply says that your application is unlikely successful。这样看了有点失望。At least give me a reason why, you know？ 雇主的话，他们都有所考虑啦。一般上他们都选择年轻的，要不然就是外地人I think their purpose here is that I want to make more money. So they don't mind doing long hours. They don't mind doing the shift. They are more healthier or more active. Or more probably they have a longer path for career path for them. And some people think that senior always come here just for the pastime. I'm quite surprised is that 很多年轻人 the late 20s and early 30s they rather do flexi job. They don't want a full-time job. So there was a few occasions I talked to these people. One of them is late 30s already. You've been doing flexi? Yeah, I enjoy doing this kind of job. As and when I want to travel, I can go travel. I don't have to wait for the leave approval or whatever.
越来越多年长人士继续留在职场，到底他们想要怎么样的工作？
I was a mariner for some time of my life. I wouldn't mind working on anything that is related to the sea. Yeah.
Well, I don't think it should be too stressful. That's for sure. Depend on your background, education. Yeah, to be a tour guide, if you like traveling and touring.
There are some real barriers to work, but there are some which are perceived barriers, and they get very picky about those criteria. I'll give you an example. The combination is sometimes like, I want only admin job, but that job has to be one stop away from my home. It should provide X number of salaries. It should not ask me to work over the weekend. No shift, only this time to this time. The seniors need to be little open to understand that they cannot ask for everything.
拥有超过40年职场经验的郭福成，主要做过电信、船务和客服等工作。他最大的心愿是能在机场找到一份客服工作，可是投出几十封简历，只换来屈指可数的面试机会。
我喜欢接触人，所以其实我最快乐的一段时间是我在机场做这个国泰航空，那个时候我是负责接待这些乘客。我想年龄真的是一个问题呢。我讲一个比喻啊，我最近刚刚申请了一份工作，它是Customer Service Officer Ambassador 在 Jewel. I say I'm 68. Why you want to apply this job? Do you know this job can be a bit tough? I say, how tough is it? No, you'll be in charge, the canopy in Jewel, because there's this glass ceiling, can be hot. I said, no, it's aircon. I've been there before. I don't think it's really that hot. I say, anyway, I don't like too cold, so I say I can accept the job. I say I'm senior, but I'm not weak,
I would say there are some which are very physically demanding roles, and that's where there is a bias to say that the seniors won't be able to do it. So those are the ones which are now opening up to say that, okay, can we make those like 4 hours a shift rather than thinking of 8 hours together? So there is a slow shift happening even in the most traditional of the sectors, but there is work to be done.
另外，目前市场上不少的优质工作，对年长者来说有门槛。郭福成最近找到一份零工，是在邮局内协助公众套现新电信优惠股。科技和数码技能的掌握，就是他现在面对的挑战。
一些基层的乐龄人士真的很难找工作，一来手机他不会用，就算你用，你要在里边填东西是多么辛苦，划来划去，它是最后不见掉。好像我从来都不用laptop， 所以我在划那个 laptop 我很辛苦，我一定要有个 mouse 的，所以在学习当中。所以目前这个工作在 Singpost 上，我就用 laptop， 他们没有 mouse， 所以在学习怎么样去划它。我觉得心态要跟年轻人一样的了，因为人家请你，我就是要付出了。
Even you are a cleaner, sometimes you need to take a photo and upload it and share it to say that this work is done. So some shape and form of technology is needed everywhere.
为了找到郭福成求职不顺利的原因，联合早报安排他到乐活乐学培训中心做一次评估，看看到底哪里出了问题。
Hi, good afternoon, Wendy. I'm Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey. Hi, welcome. Hi, good afternoon. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
I would say 执着 He's very clear because this is his forte. But I would suggest to him be more open, open-minded, open to more job options, to other job sectors. Firstly, he must consider his physical attributes. Yeah, sometimes seniors do experience aches and pains, and while the mind is willing, physically, the body cannot cope. I did ask him whether he want to consider food and beverage, and that kind of jobs would be lighter in the sense that you don't need to lift heavy weights, but you still face customers.
其实，年长者求职时并非处处碰壁，在某些行业和领域，他们反而非常抢手。
We are seeing a high demand for seniors in the entire healthcare. Let's take example of a medical escort. A senior needs to go to a clinic or a hospital. They feel more comfortable when they are accompanied by another senior because they just feel that the person will understand my requirement. The other area is also in the education sector. Schools are looking for after daycare or during the lunch break, assistant teacher who can be with the children during that period.